And the Washington County Quorum Court for the 2020 year has just kicked off, and we're in order now. Good evening. We just finished our State of the County and appreciate all of you being here. We will go ahead and get started. We will kick it off. J.P. Pond, will you lead us in the prayer and pledge?
We thank you, Heavenly Father, for the opportunity to be here together this evening. Us on the court representing those in the county, and we thank you for the ones that have come to be with us, to help us in help to direct us in decisions and choices we make here. Those from the citizens from the county, we pray that as we go through the evening, we would keep our mind on you and what we say and what we do here. Our conduct might be pleasing to you. In that way, be fair to everyone concerned. In all of it, we just give you thanks and praise for our freedoms, everything that has been done by those that came before us that paved the way for what we have. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, Happy New Year. We will go ahead and look at approving the agenda. Let me get my bearings together. Are there any changes to the agenda? Let me ask that. J.P. Deacons?
Judge, I have several changes to the agenda I'd like to propose, if you'll bear with me. Under unfinished business, I'd like to remove items 8 and 9. I feel those were items more pertinent to last year and that might be over with now.
8 and 9.
I would also
8 and 9?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Does it require a motion?
You can do it all at once.
Yeah,
Okay. Also, item number 11, I would also like that removed from the agenda. While I feel there's some issues there bringing that salary to market, I would like for us to handle that in this year's budget process. And finally, as a matter of convenience, I'd like to bring item number 15 up to the first item of new business.
Okay, so there was a motion to remove item 8 and 9 and item 11 off the agenda, and then to move item number 15 to the first of new business. Okay. And we had a second. That was J.P. Madison. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, so we have the agenda. I need a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, and a second. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, so we have the agenda adopted. Are there any preliminary motions?
I move that we read the resolutions and ordinances by title only.
All right. We have a motion to remove, to read by title only, a second by J.P. Jenkins. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? All right, so that motion passes. All right, at this point, we have citizen comments, and so we invite the citizens around the county to come and visit with us, share things that they would like to visit with, and make those comments to us, make that known here. It's a 15-minute time period. You have 3 minutes time limit, and so our county attorney will keep up with that time. But it's the beginning of a new year, and so who's going to be our first? Public comments. Public comments. Public comments. All right. We will go ahead and look at the approval of minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the minutes, and I did read them.
All right, so the minutes were sent out in December. We got a motion to approve the minutes. A second? Second. We got a second? All in favor? Those opposed? All right, minutes been approved. No corrections. And now item 7. That's the county judge's report, and again, we just had our state of the county, and so I won't make any additional remarks. But again, I do want to say what a great year in 2019. I think you heard from all our elected officials who were here that the state of the county, state of Washington County, is bright. I think from a fiscal is stable and improving, as the treasurer said, as far as the work and leading, whether it be our assessor, our county coroner, or even what the prosecutor is driving towards. We're really clearly leading Arkansas. And again, I think I shared the last piece, which was we were ranked of 75 counties, #1 in our fiscal transparency to our citizens in the county, whether it be audits and budgets and past years and prior, current. They can go and touch and see, whether it be administrative meetings like this and putting them online. They can come and participate, past minutes, Quorum Court meetings, and even political. And when they mean political, is that regardless of who's sitting on the court and working in the elected offices, that people have access. They know how to get in contact and spend time with and have conversations with. And so they go through a pretty exhaustive review of that, and this is our second year leading Arkansas as #1, and so I want to continue to do that, and I think we're well on our way to have a fantastic 2020. And so your disposal reports are inside of your packet, as well as I do have one item of business, which is approving an appointment to the county library for Lincoln County, and that's Ms. Robin Walters. And so that would be my request, is a motion to bring her on to the county library board.
I have motion to bring her on to the county library board.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Those opposed? All right, Ms. Robin Walters will be joining our county library board. With that, we'll move on to item. J.P. Madison.
I didn't want to interrupt too badly, but since it's maybe under your umbrella, for our next meeting, would you bring us up to date on our solar project? Just don't hire any attorneys.
Either I can bring it here and the judge's report, or we'll get it done at the county services, but one of the two will
Yeah,
make sure
that'd be
that's
great.
good.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, so item 8 has been taken off, item 9 has been taken off. Item 10 is the ordinance recognizing the revenues of $54,000 for a law enforcement grant. That's J.P. Harbison. Yes, hit your microphone.
Would you please read 10.1?
An ordinance recognizing additional revenues of $54,994 in the Law Enforcement Grant Fund and appropriating the amount of $54,994 from the Law Enforcement Grant Fund to the SCAP 2018 budget for 2019.
I move that we pass 10.1.
There's a motion to remove, to pass 10.1, a second.
Mr. Judge,
Yes.
I have a
J.P.
question of our
Madison.
attorney. How is this any different from 8 and 9 that were struck? Because this is also dealing with the 2019 budget, and this is 2020.
I don't know.
I mean,
I mean, the budget has not been, or the books haven't been closed on 2019. And so a transfer of money, I think, and I don't think our comptroller's here, possibly could occur. If not, then all that would happen is all this would get swept up in the rollover and everything. The money was already here. It was just a matter of appropriating it from one account to the other. And so if the money doesn't get appropriated, it just stays in county general.
but it's from a 2018 budget to a 2019 budget. It just seems like something's off a
No, it's
little
from a
bit.
2018, the title of the fund was 2018. It was being applied to it was received to be applied for the 2019 budget.
So it would just be excess in the 2019 that would,
That's correct.
might flow somewhere?
It flow into the county general.
Okay, thank you.
So we got a motion to, and a second by J.P. Lemming. Any other discussion? Any public comments? Any public comments? Ms. Patty? Oh, I'm sorry.
Beth Coger, 3661 Embry Drive, Fayetteville. I've spoken about this state criminal alien assistance program previously, and I'm not going to get into about how it is or isn't or how it's not connected to 287G. But I've studied this, and according to the guidelines from the Department of Justice, starting in July 1 of 2019, if the county is going to apply for the grant for the fiscal year 2021, which starts July 1, 2019 through July 30th, 2020, in addition to the information that the county, that we've already been giving to ICE on individuals who go through the SCAP program, they're going to have to include the alien's name, the release date, her home and work address. And I think that's really bothersome, because can you imagine? I mean, that's going to be really frightening to the people to our immigrant community who has to go through this. And so I think that we should think long and hard before we go through this grant for that fiscal year 2021, which started in July of 2019. I just want to bring that to the attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Coger. We gotta get you.
My name is Brandy Weaver, and I live in Prairie Grove at 414 East Graham Street. I was here last year when SCAP was discussed, and it was said that they did not have to prove that the person was not born in America. It was said that this is not somebody who's being detained by ICE. So this is a person who's possibly not born in America, who tells the police that they're not born in America. But that doesn't mean that they're here illegally, even though this ordinance states criminal illegal alien. That does not mean that they're here illegally. This can apply towards some of our immigrants from, say, the Marshallese community. And giving out their personal information, if they have not technically committed a criminal offense, they haven't been found guilty of a criminal offense, I believe is dangerous towards those people in that community. And I find the wording in this saying criminal alien, calling a human being an alien, is racist. Thank you.
Public comments? Any public comments? All right, with that,
Sorry.
oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Tried to be fast. Sarah Moore, Fayetteville, Arkansas. One of the things that the SCAP program actually takes into account is someone that is on potentially a hold. And I think about the fact that we're looking right now at our overcrowding within our Washington County Detention Center and having to really consider some, hard discussions about how we reduce the amount of folks that are sleeping on the floor in the overcrowding situation. One of the things that we're looking at is any amount of federal beds that are currently being taken that are not actually for local folks. And so I'm really concerned about any involvement we'd have that would entangle us with financial dealings that would take up those beds by anything that would be outside of Washington County. So this is kind of like a federal program. My concerns are because with the overcrowding that we've experienced, we have jurisdictions like Fayetteville and Springdale who are really working hard not to arrest as many folks, to cite and release as many people as possible. But what we've seen is a continued overcrowding in our detention center. One of the things I feel like that's very much driving that are our federal bed days. If you look at January 1st, 2018 through November 30th of 2018, we have 19,270 bed days. And if you look at January 2019 through November 30th, 2019, we had 25,010 bed days, which was a 23% increase in federal bed days that we started to have. And so my concern is, as we start to consider budgetary, we just got through what I think was a very hard budget process that I lived with you guys with the last 6 or 7 months. And I really think that we have to think long and hard about any entanglements we have with these federal beds going forward.
Any other public comments? Ms. Patty, roll. Oh,
Hello, Hello, my name is Isabel Messina. I live in 1-800 North Gregg Avenue in Fayetteville. I just want to say to please think about this. I'm speaking on behalf of the immigrant community in NWA, Arkansas. As you can see, there are very little faces of color people or immigrant people in this room. So I'm speaking on behalf of them to just really think about this decision, because it's not a light thing to be incarcerated and then be told you can't live where you live because of a piece of paper or a number. So that's all I really want to say. Thank you so much.
Public comments. Public comments. All right, Ms. Patty, roll.
Patrick Deacons? Yes. Lisa Ecke? Yes. Sam Duncan?
Yes.
Eva Madison? Andrea Jenkins? No. Suki Hires? No. Sue Madison?
As a person who was not born in America, I say no as well.
Willie Lemming? Did you say yes? Yes. Ann Harbison? Yes. Butch Pond? Yes. Lance Johnson? Yes. Susan Cunningham?
So that ordinance passed?
8-3.
That does pass, okay. Item, let me see, is that 10, 11, we move? All right. We moved to item 15, which is gonna be the review of the prosecuting attorney's hot check. Prosecuting Attorney Matt Durrett.
Good evening. In your packets, I forgot mine, so I'm gonna have to crane my neck over here. This is just the accounting of our hot check fee account, showing the balance before, what we brought in, and what we paid out. For those of you who don't know, thank you, bless you. This is for...
Make sure you say your name for the record.
I'm
I don't
sorry.
know if everybody got it when I called you up.
I'm sorry, Matt Durrett, prosecuting attorney.
Okay.
So what we have here is just the rundown of our hot check fee account. Our office, as part, we collect all victim restitution, and hot checks are separate from our regular victim restitution. And with the hot check restitution program, by statute, there is a fee that is paid by those who write hot checks, and it is used to defer any expenses in the collection and disbursement of victim restitution. So that's what this is. That's what the account is, the fees collected off of those. So that being said, it's kind of self-explanatory, but I'd be more than happy to answer any questions anyone has.
And this is annually, you share this with us, right?
This by statute, I'm supposed to submit this to the Quorum Court to let you all know how much money is coming in, how much money is going out. So.
And there's no action on this, correct?
Correct.
We just received it.
No, it's for informational purposes only.
Any questions from the court?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you. Yes.
Thanks.
All right. So now we're on to item 12, the Genesis countertop. So we'll walk through the process, make sure we're all on the same page. We'll first hear a summary from our county planning team. Nathan, is that going to be you or Ms. Cedar? Okay. So we'll first have a explanation and a summary from our county planning, and then we'll go and see if there's any agencies or departments here to speak, and then we'll go ahead and I'll ask the applicant to come and speak, and after that we'll go and see if there's anyone who wishes to speak against the project. So, Ms. Cedar?
Let me just get the PowerPoint up somehow, somewhere.
Council, you'll be watching our time? Okay. Okay. As she's pulling that up, this again is on the Genesis countertop appeal hearing, and so we're entering into a hearing, and again, we'll follow the protocol I just laid out.
All right, good evening. I'm Sita Nanthavong, for those who don't know me, and I am the senior planner for our Washington County Planning Department. So the first few slides are just a really quick recap, followed by the presentation that was presented to the Planning Board. This is Genesis Countertops and Accessories Conditional Use Permit Appeal Hearing. So on November 7th of 2019, the Genesis Countertops and Accessories Conditional Use Permit came before the Planning Board. At the meeting, a total of 5 individuals spoke against the project. The Planning Board member Neil Helm made the motion to approve the project. The Planning Board member Jay Piercy seconded, and of the 6 members that were present, only one, Mr. Kelsey, voted against the project, and with a 5-to-1 vote, the motion passed. Section 11-206 states that decisions from the board shall be appealed to the Quorum Court, and all appeals must be filed with the county clerk no later than 30 days of the decision of the board. On December 2nd, an appeal of the project was filed with the county clerk's office, and a total of 13 individual appeals were filed with the county clerk's office within the 30-day period. And that brings us to today. So going forward, this will be the presentation that was presented to the Planning Board. It was item C on the agenda. The Genesis Countertops and Accessories Conditional Use Permit request is located in the northeast portion of the county. The project parcel is situated on the west side of Haberton, Washington County 89, and north of Guy Terry, Washington County 92. The building that the applicants hope to use is pre-existing. The applicants also own the lot to the south and has frontage along the corner of Haberton and Guy Terry. The building was the prior home to the White River Cafe. The current owners of this property is the Valle family. They are here to seek a conditional use permit in order to operate a granite countertop fabrication business in an area that is zoned for agricultural and single-family residences of 1 unit per acre. And these are the conditions for allowance of conditional uses. The applicant has fulfilled item A1, which states that written application has been filed with the planning office and the appropriate fee has been paid. On October 24th, we sent a total of 13 certified notices to the surrounding property owners within 300 feet of the project parcel's boundary. Staff at the time received 1 email stating opposition to the project. Their main concern was silica dust hazard, noise hazard, and nuances, increase in truck traffic, and a negative effect on the established businesses in the area. A copy of this email was sent to the Planning Board. Again, the building is already existing. It already has utilities connected to it. Further extension of utility lines or further septic work were not needed. Here is a view of the building from Guy Terry. And here's the building from the Haberton entrance. So the applicant has fulfilled items A1 through A3. Items A4 through A7 are a little bit more subjective. Item A4 of the criteria for allowances of conditional uses states that the use must be compatible with the surrounding area. The majority of uses in the area are residential and agricultural. The agri uses, as noted by the assessor's office, is in green. And the lighter blue-green are commercial use properties. The yellow parcels are considered residential. The project parcel is assessed as commercial by the assessor's office. Across the street from the proposed business is a brewery/restaurant. So the applicant's building is on the left and the brewery/restaurant is on the right. Approximately less than a quarter mile away is another commercial business. This is a wedding and gathering venue that also has a winery on site. While a granite countertop production facility is not inherently compatible with the surrounding area, commercial uses do exist. The brewery has hours posted online as 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week. The Event Center and Winery down and around the corner on Guy and Terry has hours listed as 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Sundays, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Hours, Thursday through Saturday, are from 11 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. The applicant's hours will be from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, with Saturdays by appointment only. Deliveries will also be very minimal, possibly twice a week. The applicant is proposing a water jet cutter in order to eliminate dust and noise pollution. Also, the applicants will place filters and dust collectors throughout the building in order to minimize any airborne pollutants. While there are many residences in the area, these are the closest ones to the existing building on the project parcel. They range an estimated 233 feet away to 430 feet. The building, again, is existing, and it served as a restaurant in the past. Staff feels that the infrequent customer traffic and deliveries will not be detrimental to the flow of traffic that already exists. Deliveries and customer visits will occur within the hours of 8 to 5. Many people are at work or away from home during these hours. Staff feels that the traffic generated from the brewery and the winery would be greater than what is proposed at their granite countertop production facility. Also, Haberton and Guy Terry are classified as rural major collectors by RDOT. Rural major collectors tend to link places in the county to larger cities or towns. This is the view looking east on Guy Terry, and this is looking west. This is what's directly across from the Guy Terry entrance. And this is looking north on Haberton. This is south. And this is what's directly in front of the Haberton entrance. And staff recommended approval of this project with the following conditions. There were some changes made since the time of the planning board decision to approve. The applicant has also agreed to this, and if the Quorum Court members decide to grant the applicant a conditional use permit for this property, it will be with these new conditions. On here, it's in red. On screening number 2, all areas where material is stored outside the building must be screened with opaque material. That's to help shield the work material from neighbors and from anybody passing by. And no work materials, again, should be visible from the street. And then we added planning conditions that all machine work must be conducted within the building. The building must be enclosed, meaning no open doors or windows while cutting is being conducted. And the mud created from the cutting must be disposed of in a manner that will not cause any seeping or drainage into the outside immediate environment. It must be disposed of in an enclosed container that is spill-proof and taken from the site regularly. And those were the only changes we added to the conditions. Any questions?
J.P. Ecke.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Sita. Do you know what the noise volume for grinding granite is?
I do not know.
What decimals?
I do not know. We were not able to visit a site in order to take a reading.
Okay. And the other point is on the silica disposal. You said no windows, no doors are to be open.
During the time of cutting.
During the time of cutting.
Mm-hmm.
And that is because, you want to give an explanation for that?
So in granite and other natural or occurring minerals, there's something called silica.
Mm-hmm.
When inhaled, it can cause something called silicosis. Silicosis can cause a lot of respiratory issues. Unfortunately, I don't remember exactly what those issues are. I just know that it's not great. When I looked at the OSHA site, there are respirators that the workers can wear. There's little evidence that silica travels in the air long distances, and there's very little evidence that neighbors surrounding production sites have contracted silicosis. I've not found anything, for instance, you can go to the beach and inhale sand, and you can get silicosis from being at the beach. You know, it is a naturally occurring thing. So the idea of having everything enclosed during the time of cutting is to help minimize any seepage of silica, if there is any. The applicant has assured us that, you know, they will be installing air filters that will be changed regularly.
So as far as, thank you, that's very helpful. And my other point that I'd like to ask you is on the hours of operation from 8 to 5 for the Granite Company. But the other events venue and the restaurant across the street, do you have those times again? I was trying to write them down as quickly as possible, especially the Sassafras Event
Yes,
Center.
these are the times that I found off of their websites
Okay.
or their Facebook pages.
Okay.
So if they've been updated since then, I do not know about that.
Do you feel that these hours of operation are going to conflict with are the two businesses or three businesses' hours of operation going to conflict, and is one going to cause harm to the other?
With Sassafras, I don't feel that it's going to cause harm.
Because?
Because I feel that Sassafras, their business tends to be on weekends. They may have lunch venues there. Again, there is, sorry, let me just go back a little bit to the map. I think this map might be the best. There actually is already a granite production facility in the area.
I was informed of that.
Yes, Mr.
How were they able to get that?
I think they didn't get it through us. I think they were grandfathered in. I think they've been out there for a
How
very
long?
long time, from my understanding.
Some of the residents questioned that, and if you could find out how long this business has been in production, so that way we can get correct information on that, we would greatly appreciate it.
We just found out about this not that long ago, that there
Okay.
was one in the area.
Okay.
But my thought is, if there has been one in the area for quite some time and it hasn't impacted Sassafras or Saddlebach, possibly another one might not also. From my understanding, the distances aren't that great from each other. 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, with maybe some weekend by appointment only.
But that's usually not, you don't think you're going to have the cutting going on? I guess the business would answer that question is,
Yes.
when is the cutting going on? And everything's going to be enclosed, correct?
Yes.
So that will minimize the
sound.
The sound.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only on Monday through Friday.
Yes.
And you don't cut granite all day long. Maybe
I don't
you do,
think
maybe you
so.
don't.
No. I think it's per project. So it's, from my understanding, they get big gigantic slabs. As a project comes up, they cut it to specifically fit that particular house. And then they just wait till the next project comes around.
Okay. You don't see any environmental hazards?
I do not. This is not an operation where something like OSHA would come and inspect. Though I did read on the OSHA website, if the applicant wanted, they could call OSHA in to come inspect. And that would be between the applicant and OSHA. I don't know if that's something that we could require them to do. But as far as from what I've read, I haven't found a case of anybody living near a granite countertop facility, especially on a small scale like this, contracting silicosis or any type of respiratory issue.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
J.P. Madison and then J.P. Lemming. Oh, J.P.
Thank-
Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is the restaurant building being soundproofed?
I do not know. Oh, do you mean?
The one that's going to be a granite cutting
Yes.
facility?
I do not know. I know they are currently working on a lot of rebuilding and renovations. I don't know if soundproofing is a part of that.
It was not one of your requirements?
It was not.
Okay. How are you supposed to properly dispose of this, what you called mud?
From my understanding, basically it goes into a big bucket that's sealed, and then it just gets hauled off.
Hauled off to do what with?
It goes to the dump.
To a landfill?
Yes.
Okay. I'm curious what there might be about this area that seems, in a small area, attract granite cutting. Because there is another facility just a hop and a skip down the road.
There is, I think the land was available. It was out in the county. It seemed like a good spot. It's on a major collector. It's not too far off from 412.
There's no relationship between these two businesses?
No. It's a corner lot, so it has, it's got a nice sort of like U-shaped driveway, so they can, if they need to.
Well, it did make me wonder if it is a huge undertaking to get rid of the refuse, because the other one seems to have a great deal of refuse present on site. And that's probably an understatement. So, I mean, you can't just send all that stuff to the landfill, maybe the little dust stuff, but the little chips and the extra pieces and you made it sound as if in the immediate area there was minimal homes, but I think I observed a gated driveway.
There's a lot of homes. I just picked the closest ones.
Well, but I know, but very close to this location, I think I saw a gated driveway that probably led to a pretty nice home.
Yeah, there is down here. I'm not sure if you can see. I
Sort of at the
apologize,
corner
but
there where.
There's anything that's kind of orangey is considered residential. And even some of the stuff in green might be in like agricultural residential. So there are houses out there. People do live out there. Yes.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Any other comments from court? J.P. Ecke.
Thank you, Ms. Sita. Do you know how far from the gated community the building is? What is the distance?
I don't, but I do know to
4 miles?
Sassafras, it's about
400 feet.
Yes, from the port property boundaries of the gated community to the boundary of the businesses, approximately 400 feet.
If Sassafras is 1.22 miles.
the .2.
0.2?
Oops, yeah, sorry, let me
That
try
is
to
what I
find
get
it.
for no, I can't see with these on.
Oh, I'm going the wrong way. .22.
Okay. I don't have any other
Okay.
questions, thank you.
All right, at this point, any department, oh, I'm sorry, J.P. Jenkins.
Thank you, Your Honor. I find for the residents that are close to this this proposed location, I feel like it would have been very important to do a noise study. And you said that that was not completed, or that wasn't done. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So is there any research done that shows what kind of decibels we're looking at, or as far as noise goes?
I do not know.
I had a resident email me and say that they had actually, they were questioning whether or not it was going to be the type of grinders that were going to be used, and they said that with their knowledge that it would be a bridge saw and a high-speed pneumatic grinder rather than what was it called? The water, I don't have
Yeah.
that packet on me. Okay, so, and the noise levels for something like that would be over 90 decibels. So I just feel like that was an important step that should have been taken in order to present that kind of information to us. Thank you.
J.P. Pine.
I want to thank you for adding conditions that I requested. And I was going to have another one, and it pertained to noise, but I see you already have it. None of the equipment will be operated if doors or windows are open, which I had other individuals concerned about the noise and wanted to make sure that was in there. And so that is a condition.
Yes.
I've been very careful to make sure anybody that had concerns, if there was some condition that could be requested, that we meet those. And
Yes, I sent those additions to the applicant to make sure that they were comfortable
Sure.
with those, and they were comfortable with that.
And I appreciate that, but I was curious, directly across the road is the brewery. Has there been has the individual with the brewery expressed any concern with the noise or
No,
issue,
sir.
or it being in his way in any way possible?
He has not.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any departments or agencies here that are interested in visiting and talking on the project? Any department of Health, Department, okay, with that, thank you, Ms. Cedar. We'll go ahead and ask the applicant to come, and he'll have 30 minutes, or she'll have 30 minutes to make any comments on that project. And again, we'll ask the members of the county to just allow him to have his say, and then we'll open it up and then have the those who would oppose the project to come and visit. But hi.
Good evening.
Hi.
My name is Freddie Valley with Genesis Countertops. Before I take any questions, I would like to make a few comments, if that's okay. Ladies and gentlemen of the Quorum Court, I am asking that you please grant us the opportunity to open our building for business. We have invested everything into our facility with a dream to build a successful business. We understand there are concerns from my neighbors. However, I am confident that most of the concerns are not public related, but employee related. And we know exactly what we need to do to protect our employees from any harm. We intend to run a legitimate business, and we are committed to do everything within our power to not be a burden to anyone. On the contrary, we want to be good neighbors, and we want to contribute to this community. Thank you. With that, I would like to answer any questions or concerns that there might be.
Members of the court, any questions for the applicant? J.P. Pine.
Mr. Valley, will you be using any of these high-speed saws or pneumatic tools that make an extremely loud noise?
So all of the equipment that is used to process granite has a variable speed, and most of the process is used at a low speed, because when you go at a high speed, you can chip the granite and you can burn granite too. So you tend to stay on the low speed for several reasons, to make a smooth cut and to eliminate dust and noise as well. So the tools have variable speed, and you have the options to control those speeds.
Will there be situations where you will be making any large, long cuts, actually just manufacturing nearly something the full length of a piece of granite?
Well, you do load a full length of a granite onto the table, and you cut the section that is needed for the project that you're working on. Some sections may be large, depending on the kitchen, depending on the project you're working on. Some sections may be large, some sections are small. However, the equipment does not run nonstop on a granite fabrication shop. Most of the shops I have visited, most of the equipment runs off and on because you might work on 2 kitchens a day. Some of this equipment has the capability of producing 1 kitchen within an hour. So you might run that equipment for a couple of hours and the rest of the time it's just sitting idle until the next project comes along.
So you'll be able to machine down a fairly long slab of granite, but how wide of a cut could you make across that slab?
Well, you will cut it from side to side.
Sure.
And then all you do is smooth out the edges.
About how wide would your machine be able to cut?
I believe up to 120 inches.
All right. Thank you.
Any other court comments? J.P. Madison?
Thank you, Mr. Judge. Mr. Valley, are you cutting granite now?
Not in that facility.
No, I meant in your line of work.
Yes, we have.
Where is your current location?
Well, we don't have a current location. What we're doing, we're ordering the product prefabricated.
So you just install it or deliver it now?
Yes.
You don't actually do anything to the granite you have?
Correct.
Okay, so this will be a new endeavor for you?
That's correct. However, we do have experience, and my partner has many, many years of experience in this field as well.
In just delivering or?
In cutting as well.
Cutting.
Yes.
So where is your partner cutting?
He used to have a facility in Dallas where he had his own fabrication shop.
Oh, okay, so he's not doing it here?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do customers come to your location to pick the slab they want for their
Not currently.
bathroom?
Not currently. That's what we're hoping to. Our location is not set up and it's not open for business yet, but that's what we're hoping to do.
So who will be your customer base?
Anybody who wants to remodel a kitchen or a bathroom, anybody who's building a new home. And these are the type of projects we intend to utilize our shop for custom projects only. We are, however, working with multifamily projects, and those projects will not come through our shop. They will come already prefabricated to the site. Because when you deal with multi-units, you can get drawings, you can get prints, and
Right.
the units are identical. You can pre-order everything to fit the kitchens or the bathroom. But when an individual wants a custom kitchen, you need to have the equipment on site to be able to deliver to.
So you're going to do both?
We are going to do both, but our shop will be limited to just custom only, as far as cutting and
Where will you store these pre-finished slabs?
within our facility.
Inside?
Yes.
Okay. So you're not working with any set builder or group of decorators or?
Not currently.
So you really don't have a customer base yet, except
ma'am.
for the
No,
multifamily?
it's a starter business.
Okay, well, I appreciate your sincerity in this issue. Thank
Yes.
you.
Any other Quorum Court?
One more thing, I know there was a lot of questions about noise. We did visit a couple of granite fabrication shops in the area, and we did measure the noise. While the equipment was running, at the point of the process, it was, the noise went up to 90 decibels. Some of these shops operate with the doors open. Some of these shops have reciprocating compressors as well, so, it got up to 90 decibels inside the facility. When their doors were closed and you step outside, the noise from the street, from cars going by, was higher than the noise coming out of the building. Okay?
J.P. Jenkins?
Thank you, Judge. Would that be, the buildings that you have visited, are they made of the same material that the building that you are planning to manufacture in?
Yes, but they are less insulated. My building has double wall, double insulation. It's very well sealed. We intend to operate with the doors closed, and we have invested in a rotary screw compressor, which is much quieter than a reciprocating compressor, so that will help us a lot as well.
Thank you.
J.P. Lemming?
I just can't see it being a problem with noise because it's no noisier than cabinet shops. And, you know, if you live next door to the airport up there, them jet engines taking off every 30 minutes, I don't really see a problem with the noise an issue. And the granite, you know, the chips and the rock that you cut off, you can throw that in a mud hole and use it for your driveway. And the mud that you cut off of it, you can pile it and let it dry and spread it right out. OSHA allows a lot of that to happen. Yes. I don't really see a problem. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, J.P. Lemming. Any other court comment? Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now, anybody who's in support of the project, they can come forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone who is in support of the project can come forward.
Good evening. My name is Steve Raybach, and I am probably the closest neighbor. I own the property immediately adjacent, and I am in the process with the Planning Commission to put in a minor subdivision. I have an interest, financial interest. I've lived in the homes behind this building. I was once the owner of this building, as some of the other surrounding areas. I'm intimately familiar with the area. I own Saddleback Brewery. One of the reasons that we're out there is because of high traffic flow. This is, as was said earlier, this is a main corridor. It's an intersection of two main corridors. It's the north-south connection between 45 and 412. The closest one to the river, you have to go east of the river if you want to go north or south. And it's also Guy Terry, which connects straight into Joyce, and Zion connects into this road too. It is a major intersection. It's probably the most likely to be commercially developed in the area. I like it over there because of the traffic that drives by. There's a lot of traffic, a lot of drive-by traffic. I had noted there was another granite shop close by. It's 500 feet away. It's that close. I had shopped there a few years ago when I was looking for granite for a home I was building. It's in a smaller building. It's not insulated. I've been physically present at my brewery every day for the past 7 years. I've heard their machines run once when I walked over to that portion of my lot. It was the faintest little hum because they had their doors open. One day in 7 years is the only time I've heard it. I'm the closest person there. I'm selling these lots that I'm subdividing off directly across the street. They're adjacent. One of the reasons I'm concerned is I want a business here that is not going to be detrimental to the price points of my lots. Already having a granite processor there, if they're going to have a problem with it, if a residence has a problem with any granite processing, they've already got it. We're not adding any new variables to the area here. I'd also like to speak a little professionally. I have been educated in granite processing. I am a licensed home inspector. Part of our continuing education involves being familiar with the components of a home and what goes into a home. I have education approved by the state on granite processing. I've been a licensed home inspector here since 2007. In my education, which was professional, the granite processing occurs in 3 points. It's the digging it up and cutting it out of the ground, the quarry, which is a high point of contamination for the silica. It's open air. It's hard to control. The second phase is the fabrication of it. This is your most controlled area. They've got the machinery and equipment. They've got blowers that suck in the dust, and they've got wet saws. The wet saw's purpose is to collect dust. The water's there so the dust doesn't go into the air. And the slurry, the mud that's made, is specific so that it can be collected. The third point is when it's being installed in the home. That's the next highest time risk of silica. When they take it into the home, they're doing the coring, the drilling, the final cutting, and that's where the homeowner is most likely to be exposed to any silica, far more likely than anything that goes into the air. As far as traffic goes, I feel that a granite processor isn't going to have a whole lot of traffic, certainly not after hours where any of the people that I'd be looking to sell lots to are going to be concerned with. And like I said, I've been in the area 7 years. I used to live behind this building in a house. Before I owned that building, It was some sort of machine shop. They were already doing work in there. They had a showroom. They were doing some sort of floor sweepers and sanding. About 5,000 square feet of that was dedicated to the machine processing. This building was built before there was a planning commission back in, I think it was in '95, so they got grandfathered in. There's been a lot of improvements to the building that I've watched. We didn't maintain the building as well as it could have. It was not pretty. It's now been painted. It's no longer what I would call an eyesore. I wasn't happy with the way it looked. It has a pleasing appearance already. So I'm very happy to have this, being the closest neighbor and being the closest business. I want to support this, and the fear I would have is if somebody else came in and wanted to do a business that was more intrusive. We already have a granite shop. I don't see any downside in it personally. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other in support? These are just support. These are people in support of the project coming. Support?
And greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the court. My name is Joseph Foley. I am a senior vice president of a large real estate company here, and I'm also an executive broker. I also teach real estate. I sold the property. I represented Freddie in the purchase of this property. I've known Freddie for a long time. Freddie is not only a good man, but he's a good businessman. And as Steve already pointed out, he's made many improvements to this property. If you you saw the before pictures. I wish you had seen some pictures as it is now. It's quite an improvement to the area. I think it enhances the value. And I think that the people of the community would benefit, in fact, I know they would, benefit by having Freddie not only as a neighbor, but as a business there in the area. He would contribute a lot. And I think that the people of the community would actually be doing themselves a disservice to not allow him to have a business there. I think he could, they would find he's a good partner, a good businessman, somebody good that's there. And as Steve eloquently pointed out, if somebody else came in, the chances of a business contributing to the area, as this one would, is very unlikely. And like I said, it's already an improvement. And Freddie will just do more. I've never seen anybody put their heart and soul into starting a business and improving property and being concerned about the people around as Freddie is. He can only help the community. He can only enhance the value of the properties in that area, and I think he's already done so. So I just wanted to share that with everybody because I know it's true, and I've known Freddie a long time, and he's been consistent for the more than 20 years that I've now known him. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Support for the project. Support for the project. Oh.
I own a few acres directly behind the building, and that connects Freddie's property. And I don't have a lot to say except that I don't have any type of problem whatsoever with that business going in there. I welcome it.
Say your name again.
I'm sorry?
Say your name.
Don Ferguson.
Don Ferguson. And you said you had how many acres behind?
Yeah.
How many?
6 point something.
Right by, is that right behind
Yeah.
the, right, okay.
It says my name and a trust right there on the map.
Okay. I can't see it. Thank you.
But I'm for it.
All right. Support for the project. Support for the project. Okay, with that, then we'll go ahead and start with those who have opposition to the project.
Good evening, members of the court, and I want to thank you for giving us some time to talk with you tonight. Really appreciate it. My name is Don Kephart, Kephart, and I live at 4166 Quicksilver Lane. This is in the Bridlewood Estates development, and it's part of District 15. I have a degree in industrial engineering and technology. I've spent about 40 years as a working in industry as a plant engineer, a director of operations, and as vice president and general manager of large industrial manufacturing businesses, both in Texas and also in New York State. So I love manufacturing, I love industry, and it is one of the core competencies of mine in terms of understanding manufacturing processes. My wife Brenda and I moved here about 6 years ago, and we wanted to be closer to our kids and grandkids, and so we took our savings and we built our forever home in Bridlewood Estates, and we are thrilled to be there. We love the area, and we're very pleased to be in that part of the county. Love it. I am the president of the Bridlewood Estates Property Owners Association, and so I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of concerned citizens in Bridlewood and the surrounding area, and speaking in opposition to the conditional use permit for Genesis countertops. I'd like to take just a quick moment and recognize the folks who are here in opposition to the CUP, if I could. So if I could ask anyone in the audience who's in opposition to please stand. Okay, thank you. And how about anyone that's in the audience and lives in Bridlewood? Would you raise your hand? Thank you very much. One last question. I need a few extra minutes, so are there, how many people would yield some time to me for speaking tonight?
I would yield. I would.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Thank you. So I just need about 12 minutes, maybe 15 if we could. I also want to say that I have a stack of petitions here signed by folks in the area, something over 50 signatures, and I'll be happy to leave these with you for the record. So inside of the Bridlewood Estates subdivision, we have 41 property owners that live in the area, and these folks have made a really significant investment in some beautiful homes in that area, and I would encourage you to come out and see Bridlewood Estates. It's a beautiful place. So of these 41 families that are property owners in Bridlewood, they've probably invested easily $30 million to live in that area. And they really moved out to that area to enjoy a very quiet, serene, and beautiful countryside, which it is out there. I fully respect your time and realize this has probably been a really long day. And so in order to efficiently use your time tonight, I'll go quickly through this. I'll keep my comments brief. And as we established here, I'll speak on behalf of a number of people in the room. We strongly oppose this conditional use permit. I'll just refer to it as a CUP from here on, for several reasons, and I'd like to tie back to the county ordinances. You have a copy of those in front of you, and Ms. Nenthavong also related to those. And this is part of Article 6, Section 11-200, and paragraph A, and this is speaking about the criteria for allowance of conditional use permits. The board shall hear and decide requests for a conditional use and may authorize such if it finds, and then there are a few different things you see listed there. We're mostly concerned with numbers 4, 6, and 7, and implied in that, some concerns around number 5. So number 4 talks about the proposed use is compatible with the surrounding area. On behalf of our concerned citizens, I submit to you that this proposed use is in no way compatible with the surrounding area. Our area is zoned residential and agricultural. Yes, we have 2 commercial businesses nearby. One is the brewery. The other is Sassafras Springs Vineyard. And I'll take those one at a time. The vineyard, if you come out to the winery, it's a beautiful, quiet, serene place. And a lot of people gather at the winery, sit on the decks. And if you're there on the decks, it's almost like being in a treehouse. It's a beautiful place. So it's a great place for people to gather, enjoy some conversation, and enjoy the beautiful surroundings and the environment. It's a really nice place. Such a beautiful place that quite a few people get married at Sassafras Springs Vineyard. And in my opinion, the winery is a major plus for our neighborhood. As a matter of fact, on Tuesday night, and this was totally unsolicited, but one of our neighbors and a good friend of mine said that they probably would not have bought a home in Bridlewood if it were not for the winery being there. They see it as a really beautiful place, and it's immediately adjacent to Bridlewood. So I thought, wow, that's a pretty good indicator that the winery is totally compatible with the residential area that we're talking about. The brewery is also very compatible. It's another popular gathering place, and we're happy that it's there. I would say neither of these 2 facilities, the winery or the brewery, should be used to justify this manufacturing facility. And let me interject a comment. There were comments made about an existing granite shop on Haberton. Couple of things about that. Is it even an operating business? I mean, I drive by, there's granite slabs stacked out in the yard. There are a lot of old cars parked out in the yard. There's no evidence to me that it's even an active business. And there are no signs of activity regarding any kind of granite fabrication other than seeing these slabs stacked out there. I just don't think we can use a barn with a bunch of granite stacked in front of it as a justification for this CUP. By the way, if you look at the county records, that property where all this granite is stacked out there is purely zoned residential. So it's clear to me that there was no CUP granted to that, for that operation, if they're even cutting granite. I don't know. So I just wanted to mention that since it's come up in the previous comments. Other than the winery and the brewery, there are no other commercial businesses nearby. The closest one is 2.1 miles away, as the crow flies, and that is a lawnmower repair facility on North Old Wire Road. So 2.1 miles away. So if you, from Bridlewood, if you draw a circle with a 2-mile radius, that accounts for about 8,000 acres inside of this 2-mile radius circle. If you look at the winery and the brewery combined, they sit on about 17 acres in total between the two. Well, 17 divided by 8,042 tells us that 0.2% of this land inside this circle is actually commercial. The remainder, the 99, literally 99.8% of this land is residential and agricultural. So it just underscores the fact to me that this CUP, this proposed business, does not fit in this residential area. And the question that it begs for me is, why in the world would we drop a manufacturing business smack dab in the middle of this residential and agricultural area? So back to the ordinance 11-200A4, I would submit this proposed use is not compatible with the surrounding area. I think it fails that particular ordinance. I'll move on to number 6, and this talks about the conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the surrounding area for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish and impair property values within the surrounding area. Couple of comments with respect to this. Granite is hard material. We all know that. On the hardness scale, there's several hardness scales, but one is called the MOHS, M-O-H-S, hardness scale, and it goes from 1 to 10. 1 is materials like talc and gypsum, very, very soft materials. 10 is diamond. So that's the continuum. Granite is a 7, a solid 7 on that scale. It's hard material. And so given that it's hard material, it does not transform easily. So it takes a lot of power and cutting and polishing to take a slab of granite and create a beautiful countertop. Can it be done? Of course it can. It just takes a lot of power, and it is a noisy process. So how noisy? You know, how do we quantify that? Well, several of us in the room tonight have visited a couple of granite shops in Springdale, both of which are located in industrial areas, which, in my way of thinking, is exactly where they should be. Both of these are great businesses. They're doing great work, and in both cases, although the operations are very well run, it's a very noisy environment. I'd invite you to visit one to see for yourself. And I measured myself sounds steadily in the 90 decibel range and as high as 100 decibels, which is a high level of noise. Most of this noise comes from, of course, the saws and the grinders that are used, and most of these are, bridge saws are commonly used, but a lot of the noise comes from pneumatic grinders that are powered by compressed air. And Mr. Valley will be using compressed air. He has a great compressor, by the way, very quiet compressor. But these grinders produce a tremendous amount of noise. That's where the bulk of the noise comes from. And most of this is relatively high-frequency noise coming from these various high-speed pneumatic grinders and saws. And when I say a high-speed pneumatic grinder, these grinders, and I know them very well, oftentimes turn up to 20,000 revolutions per minute, 20,000 RPM. And just to put that in context, that is the pretty common rotary speed for a jet engine. They typically turn 20,000 RPMs. So this is a high-speed pneumatic grinders. They have a whine that comes with them. And Freddie is right. You can vary the speed. There is a whine that is emitted from these grinders that generates the noise in these facilities. So in the case of Genesis, I'm sure that the building will attenuate some of this noise. How much of the noise will it attenuate? Now, Mr. Valley has told us, he's assured us that outside of the building, we won't hear any noise. The only problem is Mr. Valley doesn't know, and we don't know, how much noise we'll hear outside the building. Mr. Valley, this is a startup operation. He himself has not operated a granite countertop facility before. He has a gentleman that works with him who has, but yeah, to me, this noise, and it's probably the scariest thing for us who live nearby, we don't want to hear it. And so how much noise will be audible outside of the business? It's an unknown as we sit here today. So we all moved out to the country for a quiet, serene place to live, and we do not want to hear any audible noise from a manufacturing facility that all of a sudden pops up in our residential area. We do not want to be exposed to any emissions from a manufacturing area. And so we see both of these as threats to our area. Any noise and any emissions from a manufacturing business back to the ordinance will be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the surrounding area for the purposes already permitted, and will substantially diminish and impair property values within the surrounding area. So as we lay out these things, I would just like to reiterate, please support us and vote no on this CUP. It's really critical for us. Number 7, under the ordinances, talks about the establishment of the conditional use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding area for uses permitted in the zone. This is just me talking. Who in their right mind would build a house or buy a house right next to a manufacturing facility? They're going to go elsewhere. They're going to go to Benton County. They're going to go somewhere else rather than build or buy right next to this facility. And so this would obviously diminish demand. And as we all know, demand has an effect on price. So clearly, this CUP would impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding area for the uses permitted in the zone. Again, please support us and vote no on this CUP. A couple of final thoughts, and thanks for hanging with me on this. Please note that the planning board, back on November 7th, and I was there, and there's a video record of it, they made their decision to approve this CUP after hearing several factually incorrect statements. Those statements were made, then the planning board voted and approved, recommended approval of this CUP. So a couple of those, and one of them was even repeated here again tonight. One was that Genesis will use a water jet cutter in their manufacturing process to cut granite. That is false. They are using a bridge saw. And so it's just an inaccuracy that's been stated a couple of times, again here tonight. They are using a water jet cutter. An inaccuracy presented to the planning board followed by a vote. This troubles us. There are others. It was stated, and you can see it, it was stated that granite does not contain silica. Of course it contains silica. In fact, it contains up to 70% silica. And OSHA has put out an alert for granite countertop manufacturers, and they make it clear that silica causes silicosis, as has been mentioned here tonight, and silicosis is incurable and leads to lung cancer. It's a fact. You can read it from OSHA. Most of that exposure is inside the business. How much gets emitted from the business remains to be seen. Finally, a couple of things. I looked at the Washington County plan for land use and development that was written in 2006. And it's a really interesting document, and I just wanted to touch on a couple of things quickly. Paragraph A1A says that in determining land use, we need to protect quiet, privacy, and a rural flavor and atmosphere in residential areas. this CUP certainly does not protect the quiet privacy and rural flavor by putting a manufacturing facility adjacent to residential areas. A1C says protect residential areas from incompatible adjacent land uses. This is an incompatible land use proposed for adjacent property here. A1D says protect the property values. I think this threatens the property values. A1E says protect residential neighborhoods from non-residential influences. Clearly, this is a non-residential influence. And finally, A3B says discourage spot commercial development in residential neighborhoods and agricultural areas. It's exactly what this CUP would do. So tying back to existing ordinances and tying back to this plan for land use development, which is a great document, it just seems really clear to me and to those of us who are here in opposition that this CUP is just not compatible in our neighborhoods. So last comment here, please consider the facts that have been presented here tonight. I have framed my comments and concerns with the relevant Washington County ordinances. Please use your best judgment and your collective wisdom to make a proper determination on this CUP. And I'll say one more time, please support us and vote no on this CUP. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Keppert. We got 3 minutes left. For anyone left who would like to oppose the CUP, 3 minutes left.
My name is Jerry Stahl, and I live at 18181 Haberton Road in Springdale, and I own the property 18177 Haberton Road, which is directly across Guy Terry within 300 feet of the boundary of the proposed Genesis site. I just want to say I'm opposed to this. I have a rental unit that is directly across, and this business is going to impact my ability to find suitable renters. I could lose renters, actually, and also will cause me to be able to have to lower my rent to be able to attract people, because nobody's going to want to live next to, or not many people, a granite countertop. The other thing is one omission was made during the testimony, and nobody mentioned at the testimony at the last meeting about the high-speed jet liner rotation pneumatic grinders. That was completely left out of it. So I ask again that you vote with us to oppose this. It will have a detrimental effect on our neighborhood and our investments and our county mandated right to peace and enjoyment of our property. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stahl.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. And I won't keep your time very long. I'm Gene Long. I own Sassafras Springs Winery, my wife and I. And I just want to clear up a couple of things. I think that part of what has been said here is inaccurate, not intentionally, but it is. I just wanted you to understand one thing about our winery. Our winery was approved under the previous CUP as a winery. Our land use is agriculture. We happen to have an event center that goes along with our winery. We are licensed by the federal government as a winery. We're licensed by the ABC in Arkansas as a winery. The Washington County Planning Board approved us as a winery. We have permits from the health department as a winery. We are a winery. So when we start looking at this map and we start saying, well, this is a commercial risk, it's a winery that does have an event center. But we are a winery much more than an event center. We actually have won international awards with our wines. I know that probably some of you haven't been there, but it's an outstanding winery that really shines for the county. So when I look at this and I start thinking, what effect will this manufacturing risk have? It's obvious. People come out to the country to a winery in order for peace and quiet and enjoy it. I can't imagine a winery being in an industrial area. I don't think anybody would go to it. So I can't imagine that this would be good for us. I would say this, I have noticed over the last couple of years that property owners in our area quite often note in their advertisement on homes for sale or Airbnb for rents that their home or rental unit is close to our winery. Our winery has become a selling point for a lot of property out there. I wonder if those same property owners would note in their advertising that this property for sale or rent is close to a granite manufacturing company. I doubt it. I have many people telling us that they buy homes out there because of the winery. I see it in the paper, I see it in advertisements. So please don't degrade what we have out there already. I am just like anybody else. I'm a retired veteran. I have placed all of my retirement funds, my wife and I, into this risk. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Okay, so we've had our...
Your Honor, I'd like to ask to suspend the rules to allow this gentleman to speak for a couple minutes.
All right, there's been a motion to suspend the rules. You got 2 minutes. A second. All in... Oh, let's Miss Patty do a roll. I'm sorry. Has to be majority. Is it 10?
For 2 minutes?
Yep. Yes.
Patrick Deakins? Yes. Lisa Ecke? Did you say? Yes. Yes. Sam Duncan? Yes. Chandra Washington?
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins? Yes. Suki Hires? Yes. Sue Madison? Yes. Willie Lemming? Sure. Ann Harbison? Yes. Butch Pond? Yes. Lance Johnson? Yes. Susan Cunningham?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, members of the court. My name is Jason Hall. My wife and I own the home at 4183 Quicksilver Lane. On this diagram, you can actually see our home. We live right next door to Mr. Kephart, and we're probably competing as far as closeness and proximity to the manufacturing facility that's been conditionally approved. So my chief concern is noise. Probably the chief reason that we chose this area of the county to invest so much for that lot and to build that home was because of the quiet, serene, pastoral setting, and we would hate to lose that. About the loudest thing that we hear outside of our front door would be a boat on the river, maybe the garbage truck when they come once a week, or a helicopter that goes overhead. I would really, really be disappointed after achieving what I would consider a lifelong dream of owning a home like this to hear grinding. So that's just one homeowner's perspective in Bridlewood, and I appreciate you hearing and giving me that chance to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Okay, at this point, we will now have the court to have any discussion, and then we'll move on to entertain a motion to decide what you're going to do with the CUP. So, J.P. Madison.
Whoops. Thank you. Washington County is zoned single-family and agriculture. This is clearly an industrial use. People count on that zoning when they make probably the biggest investment of their life, which is in their homes. And I think the county should be proud that we have extended that kind of assurance to our residents. Any existing or current industrial or commercial use is non-conforming. If it ceases to operate, it loses that ability to be non-conforming and would revert to agriculture or single family. And I think the residents out there count on that when they've made some huge investments. Mr. Valley is clearly a very sincere, hard-working man that's knowledgeable about his business. I have to admit I'm a little dismayed that his realtor didn't advise him that he might want to pursue the option of looking for a conditional use permit before he started making some investments. This is clearly going to diminish some property values out there, because the neighbors who've made this big investment in their homes could look at some of these non-conforming uses and know that with time they'll be gone. It would be a betrayal to them, I think, to say, no, we're going to let that continue, never mind what the county zoning ordinance says. So I want to ask you all to please respect these people's homes. Often the biggest investment many people make, it's where they live. And there are people home during the day out there. I went there and talked to a lady today when I went out there because I got a little lost. But I did find the place. So please respect the ordinances that we passed for the county, not while any of us were here, but that we need to follow. Thank you.
Thank you, J.P. Madison. J.P. Pond.
We've got an unknown here that has been brought up many times, and I don't know who we would get as a third party to come in and do some kind of noise measurement, some kind of decibel measurement. Someone who could come inside that building and create a loud noise and measure the decibels from the outside. It is a double insulated sheet metal building, and I expect that's why some of the individuals that were not opposed to this, knowing that machinery would be operated with the doors and windows closed, I really believe that we'd be unfair to everybody involved, the neighbors who are opposed and the ones who, in fact, don't have a problem with it, to make a decision with this unknown. I move we postpone this till next month with the idea of finding someone, a third party, to do a decibel measurement.
We have a motion to postpone until next month to determine if there's at least some sound to add and bring into the equation. Is there a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? No. That fails. All right, keep the discussion going. J.P. Ecke.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you for the emails, citizens, and your phone calls and the discussions that we've had. I like to be well informed of the decisions that we're making. And as I shared earlier, I have to put these on a scale, and you have to place for, against, and the evidence that shows is how I will be making my decision. I could recuse myself because Cheryl Long is my insurance agent. Well, she used to be. I believe it's her son now. I do have a question on Sassafras. When they went in, it is an events venue, yes. You have music, yes. What is the decibels that were permitted when we granted the CUP for Sassafras? One side. You do have open weddings, open venues. Mr. Valle said he's going to have closed doors just during the time that they're cutting. I seriously doubt that they're going to be 8 hours of cutting granite a day. I don't know that you can sustain a saw going that way, cutting for 8 hours a day. He's Monday through Friday. Sassafras does open on the weekends, and you are also on the weekdays, yes? But you have been a good neighbor. And that's what counts, is being a good neighbor. But they gave you an opportunity and you proved yourself as a good neighbor. You didn't have something that was loud and raunchy looking and unseemly and rowdy. Listening to all of the evidence, I'm going to support Mr. Valle because he's trying to be a good neighbor. They're closing the doors, they're closing the windows, they are cognizant of noise, of silica dust, of all those things that could be detrimental to his neighbors. I believe in property rights. You all have property. That's what makes America great, is that we were given property rights. You go live in Europe and you have to rent and you don't have property rights. No, you don't. America, you do. You have the right to buy and you have the right to sell. He has a right to buy. There was an existing business there to begin with, correct? There was a business. Cars would coming in and going out. It was open to the public. What's going to change? I think there's going to be less traffic than there was before, but I don't know, that business went out of business. But these are things that I'm weighing one way and the other, trying to make the right decision. And each one of y'all have made a great argument and good points. But I'm still siding on property rights and his opportunity to be a good neighbor and to prove himself a good neighbor. And I'd like to think that we would give him that opportunity. And I believe in business, and I believe in free enterprise, and I believe in what Bridalwood stands for. I'd like to thank you all for sharing your insights, and I've been marking them down the whole time, but it comes down to that. And I hope you give him an opportunity to be a good neighbor. Thank you.
Other discussion? J.P. Jenkins.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think that when we talk about property rights, we have to remember that there are two sides of this story, and the property rights of the people who have purchased this land, they have their rights as well, as does that's why we're weighing our options. And I think that everyone on this court agrees with people's right to do with what they want to do with their property. I don't think any one of us are against a person's decision. It's just a matter of ordinances in my mind now. It comes down to what the county, the ordinances, and the unknown factors. I will be voting against this CUP. Thank you.
J.P. Johnson.
Yeah, thank you, Judge. I office next door to a granite shop in Springdale. And I understand I've been in the construction business too long, but I wouldn't know they were there if I couldn't see them. Okay? I've also built a house in Bridalwood. I finished it a couple years ago. I can't imagine what that man can do in that building other than blow it up that you could hear in Bridalwood. It's that far away. So I don't think it's going to impact that subdivision. Thank you.
J.P. Hires and then J.P. Harbison.
Thank you, Judge. I just want to let the residents know that I will be voting with you tonight. I firmly believe that we have zoning regulations. Those zoning regulations, again, say that this is residential and agricultural. I just have issue when businesses try to move into residential agricultural neighborhoods and change those zoning laws. I think there's a clear difference between music and industrial noise. And so I want you to know that I will be voting to deny the CUP. Thank you.
J.P. Harbison.
This is one of the most difficult decisions that this court makes are on these CUPs. We make these, we've had several hearings, and unless something is really going to be disruptive to the neighborhood, I'm going to support the CUPs, because this is a guy that's a small business person. He is part of what makes Washington County run. He helps to build the houses. He helps with the economy. And I understand the Bridlewood people. I understand why you are here tonight. But I have to make a decision that I feel is best for everybody in the county. And I believe we need to encourage small businesses and individuals to take a risk and start a business. And so far, everyone that's been appealed to the circuit court that we have approved has failed. So there's something wrong with our ordinance, and it needs to be revisited. I'm going to be voting for the CUP tonight. Thank you.
J.P. Lemming.
If I had to fight a CUP, that would be going out there in y'all subdivision. If I was allowed to say a little granite shop, or versus some big farmer coming in there putting 10 or 20 chicken houses across the road from y'all, agriculture, you know, they've got the right to do that. So you might be coming back in a year from now and having to fight some farmer putting 10 chicken houses out there. We don't know that. But the problems you would have with that compared to what you're trying to fight, there is no comparison between a chicken farm that big. That could happen, that many chicken trucks every day, chickens going out all hours of the night, smell, flies. I know about them because I own them. And I know y'all wouldn't want them in your neighborhood. So what they're trying to put in is not going to hurt a thing. And I think that building was there for before a lot of these houses was ever built. Maybe wrong, maybe right, but I think that business was there. And you just can't tell people you can't do something. If y'all didn't want it there, y'all should have bought it. The subdivision should have bought it out and put more houses there. But, you know, you need to let people do what they want to do. Thank you. Jeez, you're right.
Any other comments? Okay, so at this point, we need a decision on either to ratify the CUP or to deny the CUP.
I make a motion that we approve the CUP for the Genesis business.
We have a motion to ratify the CUP for the Genesis countertops. And we have a second. Council, will you read the whole ordinance, read the ordinance by title only? It's only on its first read, so we'll move on to the, to next month for the second reading, unless you guys suspend the rules. Yes, go ahead.
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit allowed by the Planning and Zoning Board of Adjustments.
Judge, I'd like to suspend the rules and advance this to second reading.
There's been a motion to suspend the rules and advance this to second reading. Second, all in favor? Aye. Those opposed? No. Ms. Patty?
Patrick Deakins?
Yes.
Lisa Ecke?
Yes.
Sam Duncan?
Yes.
Chandra Washington?
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins?
No.
Suki Hires?
No.
Sue Madison?
Yes.
Willie Lemming?
Yeah.
Ann Harbison?
Yes.
Butch Pond?
No.
Lance Johnson?
Yes.
Susan Cunningham?
Yes.
So it will go to the second reading. It failed to go to the second reading, so it'll go into next month's agenda. Is that what you got? What, give me your numbers. How many did you have?
I had 9.
Okay, so it fails, right? Okay, so it'll go to next month's meeting. All right, item 1415 was the prosecutor. We already did that one. Item 16 is committee reports. We had county services moved to December because of some of the ballot issues and all. Finance and budget, J.P. Harbison.
Finance and Budget met, and we heard the county treasurer and the controller and our insurance person. We made no decisions. Thank you.
Jails and law enforcement.
Thank you, Judge. We met, the reports in the packet. Thank you.
And personnel had no meeting. With that, Happy New Year. Meeting adjourned.